And we have a great question today on hotel tipping. It comes via Timid Tipper. Dear Lizzie and Dan, I recently stayed overnight in a hotel and I was left confused about two separate tipping details. Any help would be sincerely appreciated. I know that it's typically correct to tip one's housekeeper a few dollars per night of one's stay, but I only stayed for one night and did not receive housekeeping services. I was quite ambivalent as to whether to tip. On the one hand, I'd be tipping for a service I did not receive, which feels a bit unfair. On the other hand, someone is picking up after me and doing their rather difficult job, whether I stay one night or not. I asked the front desk and she said it was completely up to me. Should I tip housekeeping for a one night stay? In the end, I decided to leave a tip. My other question. I went down for breakfast, which was a typical self-serve buffet. I did have a server who gave me information, brought my check, and assumedly would take the plates after I left. In the check, there was a line for gratuity. I wasn't sure whether a tip would be expected here. I ultimately decided that being brought the check does not meet the minimum criterion for table service, which is my food being ordered and brought to me. However, there is a sit down Indian restaurant I like with a self serve buffet in which I do tip standard gratuity. So I'm clearly applying a double standard here. Help! Is tipping obligatory or expected at self serve buffet places in which one has a sort of half server? Thank you for any and all help. Yours sincerely, Timid Tipper. These are such good tipping questions.
This is a phenomenal question. Thank you so much for submitting it. And thank you for your attention and your care. I really appreciate your keeping the spirit of gratitude in your thinking about gratuities because that's the heart of it. Ultimately, a tip should feel good for the person giving it and the person receiving it. One of my favorite tips is the tip that we get to leave people who help take care of our room when we're staying at a hotel. I just think it's one of the most delightful tips to leave because you essentially get to put it in the hands of the person who provides some incredible and very personal service for you, cleaning up a room after you've stayed in it for a night. And that's what the tip is for. So it's an appreciation for that level of care and that level of service and the people that do it for us. And leaving a couple dollars, as you identified, in the hotel room, whether you're availing yourself of the service and will be staying another night, or whether it's the end of your stay is absolutely the correct call. It is an important tip. Like I say, it's one of my favorites. It was one that I was reminded about leaving early in my time working at the Emily Post Institute. The person that did our expense reports for travel asked me why I wasn't taking petty cash or why I wasn't submitting expense reports for petty cash or leaving tips in the room for housekeeping. And she thought it was really important for me as a representative of the Emily Post Institute. I agreed with her. And as I became aware of that, I won't even call it expectation, but the possibility of doing that, the the tradition of doing that, it was something that I really enjoyed discovering and participating in. I think that you will too. Lizzie, I have another answer for the second part of this question, but I want to make some space. I know you have thoughts about this topic as well.
Well, first, I want to say hi to Susan Z, and thank you so much for joining us today. I am with you, cousin. I think this is a tip that it was really good for our timid tipper to lean into and tip, even though they had questions about it in their head. Even though you aren't the direct recipient of that service in terms of you don't come back that night to a cleaned up hotel room for, bed remade, towels removed off the floor, or however it's been handled, trash emptied. It is really important to still leave the tip for the person who's cleaning up after you've left. This isn't always just a for you type tip. It's also a for them type tip, because they do take care of any mess that you've left as they get the hotel room ready for the next guest. Maybe you could think of it as pay it forward if it ever has that question in your head again. But I think that's a really important one, not to miss. It is okay if you put the do not disturb tip or excuse me sign out and said that you're not going to receive service to not tip that day, obviously, but you still want to account for the number of days that you've stayed in the hotel room when you do that goodbye tip, maybe we'll call it, for housekeeping. So good on you for taking the minute to leave that tip. Dan, on the other one, I actually really want to hear your thoughts about it because you've spent like literally 15 weeks traveling almost every single week and I'm curious, do you entertain the hotel buffet? Is it the kind of situation where you're being offered breakfast options or the buffet, or is it this sounded to me almost like it might be the kind of situation where there's only buffet service optional and you might not have the option to order, like, I know your favorite's eggs benedict, so I'll use that as my example. Gonzalo, hi, welcome. Merry Christmas.
Welcome. I think that thinking about breakfast at a hotel is a great way to address the question of tipping for buffet service in general, because
Okay.
the hotel is a place where there's a natural confusion. Sometimes at a hotel, you have a continental breakfast service, which is a service that's complimentary. It's part of your stay, and you go down, you get to help yourself, eat what you like. There might be some bus service that happens in a shared dining area, but my guess is that it's also possible for you to clean up after yourself quite a bit.
Hmm.
There's no one taking money or keeping track of you in that situation. Maybe there's some sort of you sign in with your hotel rooms, but that kind of complimentary continental breakfast buffet could be easy to confuse with a buffet that happens as part of a broader breakfast service at a sit down restaurant at the hotel. And if a buffet is part of a restaurant where you could also get regular table service, where you enter the restaurant, you're seated at a table, you have an option to order things other than the buffet. Even if you then choose the buffet, serve yourself, return to the table, at the end of the meal, is there someone that brings you a check? Do they clear the table when you're finished? And if those things are true, it's the equivalent to sit down service, and you would expect the same 15 to 20% tip that you would if a server provided you that same service but brought out your meal on a plate instead of you going to a buffet to serve yourself. So, continental breakfast service at a hotel, complimentary continental breakfast service. No, no tip is expected in the same way. If there's a tip jar out and you want to leave a discretionary tip, that would be up to you. But it's not the same expectation that we have of a 15 to 20% tip when we receive sit down table service at a restaurant. And in this question, it sounds to me very clearly, based on the details that we heard in the question, that this was sit down table service at a restaurant for breakfast, and you would tip for that even if you ordered the buffet.
Yeah. I was,
Woo.
yeah, woo, good job, cuz I like it. I like it. I was thinking too of things like, did my server get me coffee or a cappuccino or juices and fill my water the whole time? Or were those things out of a dispenser or a carafe or something like that over by the food? How much was there some work on the part of the server, or how much was it really just me completely self-serve? And that was influencing how I was thinking about it. But I like the way that you laid out, if there are other options to choose from and the buffet is an option, that's really still sit down service at a restaurant, much like Timid Tipper is thinking of that Indian buffet style that they're used to tipping at. Whereas if it really is just the cereals and the yogurts and the pastries and the coffee and the juices lined up along a bar that you go serve yourself at, and you have the option even to clear your plate to like a bus bin or something like that, then that's probably less likely to warrant a tip. But either way, I love really dissecting these and getting into like travel tipping and hotel tipping.
Boy, okay, and I'll just tell a little story from the
Please,
road. One
yeah,
of my
yeah.
favorite hotels, shout out to the Westin in Southfield, Detroit, just a phenomenal staff. I know when I'm in that hotel because of how nice people are when I'm there. When you come downstairs for the breakfast, they just assume that you're going to get the breakfast buffet because it's so good, it's so popular, everyone gets it except me. I order the eggs Benedict. So I walk in and they set me up and treat me like they treat everyone who's going to get that buffet. And then I say, "Oh, actually, I'm not having the buffet. I'm going to get the eggs Benedict. Could you substitute fruit, please? And I'll be here. And thank you so much." Um, it's that substitution for the Benny, and I absolutely leave a tip for it if I were to get that breakfast buffet. If that was the
Yeah.
thing I wanted on that particular morning, I would tip
Hi,
for that
Michael.
buffet. I have this experience where I would ask myself the same question and absolutely would give the same answer we gave today.
I love getting to hear the tales of you on the road and how your adventures unfold, whether that's having to work with the front desk staff because you've gotten in late because of flights and then having to drive through a snowstorm in Michigan, or whether it's the breakfast eggs Benedict that you love enjoying. It is really fun hearing the tales of your adventures on the road, teaching about etiquette.
I tell Pooch my secret is that I
Yeah.
think of myself as a goodwill ambassador. And I really say
Nice.
that I'm out there, I'm traveling on behalf of Emily Post. I have nothing to do except get there and deliver well. So I kind of think of part of my mission as being a goodwill ambassador to the public at large. I do my best to keep a smile on my face and courtesy a part of the way I interact with and look to connect with the people around me. So and it makes it fun. It gives you opportunities to explore.
I love it. I love it. Well, I want to thank everybody who joined us for this live. We have really enjoyed getting to do these. We are hoping to improve our internet connections in 2026 so that they're hopefully a little less glitchy. But we really love getting to see you sign on and have little messages pop up during the show. So during the questions. So thank you so much for your participation. Dan, it is so great to be with you on the mic as always. Do you think we should go ahead to the rest of our show and get it recorded so our audience has the show for January 5th?
Let's do it, Lizzie Beth.
Awesome. Bye everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Take care. Bye.